Yo, what's up, everybody? bboyspaz here again, and we're looking at another Production 101. Just so everyone remembers, Production 101 is basically just where I'm going to talk about not program-specific stuff, more as than just stuff to use, tips and tricks in production. So keep that in mind. There'll actually be a couple episodes I'm going to do where I'll just talk about, terminology being used and things of that sort. Because, sometimes people just throw around the words and don't even know what they're talking about. So today we're actually going to be looking at layering. And what we have here, as you see, is Ableton Live and Reason Rewired. This is a track that I did a while ago. I want to say almost like a year. But it's a really, really good example of layering. And, when a lot of people talk about layering, they might, be talking about the drums, and that's it. Like, layer your drums. But actually, it goes a lot deeper than that. You can layer on top of your sample, either by using two samples or replaying out parts of the sample with your own synths. Layering vocals is huge, especially if it's like singing. You're going to want to double, triple, maybe even quadruple that up. Background vocals, all that stuff, overdubs, everything, layering. Layering is huge on vocals. Maybe not so much the main vocal, but for your backgrounds, definitely. So let's go ahead and take a look at the layering I did in this track. So what we have out here is the track started from the sample. So here is the sample being used on this track. So that's nice and all. Nice little sample. Nice chord progression. Nice upbeat and whatnot. Now the layering I did for that, if you listen to the Reason stuff, I actually added on my drums in Reason as well as played back some of the chord progression and the sample. Now for doing things like that, it's really not that easy because first off, when you sample your sample or warp it, you can't use repitch mode because if you do, the thing about repitching is when I'm turning down the tempo, it's not going to actually hit an exact pitch unless you're really, really lucky. For the most part, it's going to be sharp or flat and it's going to be all over the place. And then when you try and play with normal instruments that are actually tuned correctly, it's going to be all over the place. So if you see here, I have mine in complex mode. It's down by a fourth. I think these are actually, they're all complex. Luckily, this is in tune. If it's not in tune, even if you're not in repitch, you can use the detune here and turn it up or down. And by doing that, you can actually tune it basically to normal instruments. So here is the Reason stuff. And if you hear, I replayed the chords. And it really gives the sample a thicker feel. One producer who does this a lot is Kanye. Kanye doesn't just sample. He'll play half the song with normal instruments and or go back and actually stop using the sample during parts of the song and then just play out everything. He does that on like every track except for this 808 and Heartbreaks album because that's mainly, I don't think there's any samples in that album. Now if you see here in Reason, I have my drums and my NNXT and I was just playing it with a keyboard. So here's my drums here. You can see everything that's doubled up. I think this is like a snare or a clap. You got your kick drums here doubled up. It's an 808 kick here. And then some other assorted sounds like shakers and hi-hats and all that good stuff. So now let's listen to the sample and the reason stuff together, and you'll hear the difference from just the sample by itself and the reason stuff backing it up. Without reason, with reason. And if you notice too, when I layered it with the chords I was doing, I tried to pick a sound that sounded like it would fit with the sample, just to beef it up some. So remember, sounds are huge. How things sound, pay attention to how things sound. There's a lot of things I'll do, like take a crash and add it to a sample, but make it sound sampled so it sounds like it's a part of the sample. Huge for making your production sound really good. Another thing, like we were talking about earlier, layering vocals. Right here, I have a little part that I sang, and as you see, I tripled it up. Basically, I think I recorded it in Pro Tools originally, and then I went back over it with auto-tune just a little bit. So not like 100% auto-tune, but, you know, something to clean up the vocals. Because when you start doubling and tripling vocals, especially singing, it's really hard for the human voice to be exactly on pitch. So backgrounds typically are heavily auto-tuned. If you listen to any big productions, the backgrounds are pretty much all the way auto-tuned. So let's take a listen to that. Now, big things to keep in mind with these layered vocals. So layered vocals are nice. They sound really thick, and it makes a huge difference. Things to keep in mind definitely are line up your vocals. And what that means is when you record, yet again, the human voice, you're not going to be able to hit the exact same rhythm you did the last time you did it. You'll be off by just a little bit. Even if you're really good at it, you're going to be off just a little bit. Lining up those vocals will make them even more tight. So it sounds like one thing, but it's doubled up so you can tell it's more than one voice. That makes a huge difference. And another thing, if you didn't notice, I didn't just line up the vocals and have those layered. I actually played a little synth part to go along with it to as well layer on the vocals. So they're going along with the vocal melody. So you have this part here. It's the high life. So you hear that little sine wave synth in the back. You know we live the high life. Playing out the melody that I was doing. That's the life for me. So that's a quick look at layering. Just remember, experiment with it. You know, any sounds, try and double them up. If it doesn't sound good, it doesn't sound good. Not everything in life should be doubled, but layering really makes a huge difference in your production. So give it a try on everything you do. Don't just record a singing line once. Sing it 4 or 5 times. Line them up. Take all the best takes. Auto-tune them a little bit and go from there. All right. Peace.